my manager comes up to me and says, "Hey, we need someone to QA some new programs that we're using for our company. Do you want to do it? It'll take you completely off phones. You'll be working with scripting and things like this." And at this point, I'm sitting there holding an A+ book, right? The A+ certification book. It's in my hand. Like I was studying it at my desk.
Wow.
And I'm like, absolutely. It gets me off the phones and it gets me tech experience because it's a QA analyst role. Like I was a QA analyst was my first tech role. That doesn't happen for a lot of people.
That doesn't happen for most people, especially most people without a certification or degree.
Exactly. So I did not have A+ at this point. I had Best Buy, and that was it. That was what I had.
Wow.
So I get into the QA analyst role. I do that for
and this
about.
Is this at the energy company?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
This is at the energy company.
And QA is quality assurance, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And for most people who don't know, and I'm glad you even mentioned this in your story, and it's early in your. I mean, this is even in your career.
Yeah.
You can work within tech without working for an actual tech firm or technology first company. Because most companies utilize tech, not even most, all companies utilize some form of tech. So therefore, they need some type of technicians, technology skilled people to come in and work those positions. How did you even get word of that opportunity with the energy company?
My mom actually. My mom told I was looking for a new job. Like I was at Best Buy and I was looking for something a little bit more stable. You make a little bit more money. And she was like, "Well, why don't you look into the utility company?" So so originally I had tried the utility company here in the city, and I didn't get hired. But I tried another one, and what's funny is my wife also applied, and we both had interviews that same week. I got the job, she didn't. So I was like, "Oh, okay, this is awesome." So it was really just one of those things that it kind of fell into my lap, and I would have never thought to have looked there, honestly. And with what you said, a lot of all companies use tech now. You don't have to work for a tech company. Like honestly, I would suggest most people don't work for a tech company now. If I'm going to be completely honest with you,
especially if they're a publicly owned traded company. Somebody said you designed their MySpace. You used to do MySpace pages back in the day too.
No, listen to Carlos. Carlos is one of my guys. He just playing around.
All right. So you in your QA role.
Yep.
At what point does that transition to be like, all right, I want to get out of it's a technical role by qualification, but it's not really an engineering role.
Right. I wanted a more technical role at this point because again, it was kind of repetitive. I'm testing for bugs at this point. I'm not actually doing tech work. So next, I applied at United Airlines, and I got my first. That was a help desk role. So I took a pay cut to go to United.
Wow.
And I don't suggest most people do that, especially today. You don't have to do that now. But
what year is this? What year
this is 2016.
Oh, okay. So now, and we're tracking the time because I want people to understand the contents of. And by 2015, 2016, now all your responsibilities are locked in. Like you're really taking care of your home with your lady and your kid. Like you're a grown man now. Like there's real risk on the line here when things go wrong and go south. So for you to go from making stable money as a QA and being driven enough to know that you need to get more into the technical weeds of your career, taking a step down and get a help desk role. What was that whole transition like for you?
Oh man, it was like my wife completely. She was like, "Yeah, do it if you think it's right, do it." But I'm not gonna lie, it was stressful. Because I was betting on myself, and up until that time, I had never really bet on myself when the stakes had been so high, right? Like I got a newborn here. I have a very, very good job. This would be like this is a good job that I had. I had a pension. I made a good salary. Like it wasn't going anywhere. It was a really good job, and I was like, but I want more, and this isn't what I wanted to do. Right. So I took the help desk role at United, and I quickly grew there. I'm not gonna lie, I was good. Like I was good with customers, and I was good at scripting. I picked up batch programming really, really quick. So that helped with a lot of our a lot of our regular calls as far as trying to troubleshoot people's issues.
Right. Because now at this point you're developing like automation tools.
Exactly.
So
Well, yes,
well, in the sense of you're automating a lot of tasks that you do by going.
exactly. Yeah.
So I'm only bringing that up because I always try to encourage newbies, especially, to not run from the command line. Most people
Oh
try
no.
when they
Yeah.
first want to learn to get into cloud tech, cloud engineering, etc. The first thing they want to have towards is the certification, of course, and then or the first question they come up with me, well, how can I get a non-technical role where I don't have to code? And I'm like, you don't know how much time you give back to yourself by knowing some command line
Yep.
skills.
Even if
You
you're not
literally,
in a technical role.
so when he's talking about scripts, so instead of programming out some long lines of code, or even click through in the console, whatever the task may be, instead of maybe taking on, what can accumulate to hours a day if it's redundant tasks, by just entering a script. Like you literally bought back an hour of time,
Yep.
2 hours of your time or more,
Yep.
that you get to do other things to focus on more priority things important to you in your personal life
Yep.
or in your career.
Yeah.
Um, somebody made a comment that I want you to kind of speak on.
Sure.
At, at they so two, we're talking about 2000, 2016, 2015. Um, somebody says that they feel like getting in tech nowadays is at the wrong time.
Okay.
What was the climate like when you were trying to break in from your QA role into your
Uh-huh.
help desk role?
So it was kind of a boom happening at this point. Like tech had now become a little bit more popular. Like it
Mhm.
wasn't like it is now, but at this point it was a little bit more like, okay, there's a little bit more competition out there. Like my roommates before me and my wife had moved, they had both already worked in tech. One was a system administrator, one was a help desk guy. A lot of my friends around me were getting into tech. So I'm gonna tell you what was one of my leg ups. Black.
Okay.
Like, and
Talk about it. Come on.
look, and I take
It's a
full
safe space.
advantage of that fact because of
Not a
that.
sober space, a safe space. But go
Yeah.
ahead.
And because of that, I every now and then, equal opportunity.
Now, is this before the BLM movement?
Yes,
Okay.
it is.
The reason I'm asking these questions is I'm lining it up with your
Hmm.
story because I want to hit a point on this comment. But go ahead.
Yeah, no. So yeah, the climate was pretty it was pretty when I interviewed at United, um, I think they said I had like three other people who were being considered for the position.
Hmm.
And so I'm gonna say I had one more leg up that
Hmm.
I unintentionally used. I did not
Hmm.
mean to use this.
Yeah.
My whole family has worked at United Airlines at one point or another.
Hmm.
And so I mentioned one family member, like an obscure family member, not because my grandma worked there, my mom worked there, my two uncles, cousins, like family work has been working there for 40, 50 years, right?
Mm. Mm.
And so
Legacy.
I mentioned my aunt, thinking no one will make this connection, right? It
Yeah.
won't be a big deal. And so
Yeah.
the woman who interviewed me, she's like, "Wait, is your aunt's name Susan?" I'm like, "Yeah, it is." She had been in my aunt's wedding. She knew my grandmother. Like it was
Stop, bro.
ridiculous. Yeah, no.
During
I'm
the
like, okay.
interview?
Yeah, this is in the interview. Yep.
Wow.
The overnight manager knew my mom. Like they used to work together.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
Yeah,
I,
so I got really lucky with that because I really did not plan on using that, using that card because this was something I wanted on my own merit,
mhm.
right?
And did you have any certs or degrees at this
I
point?
had A plus at this point. Now
A plus.
I've had my degree
Okay.
but my degree is not a technical degree. I don't have a degree in tech at all.
What's your degree in?
Marketing and communications.
Okay. Let me put a pin on it real quick,
Yep.
because I wanted to get to this point because I see this all the time.
Yep.
Um, there's never going to be the perfect time or ideal time for you to make the transition into a tech career.
No.
Um, in 2015, 2016, this is pre BLM.
Yep.
All right, so there was no mandatory quota on we got to bring the black guy. there was always competition, always more adequate engineers applying for roles.
Right.
All right. He was just telling you he's a man who has a whole family to take care of, who took a step down in pay just to take a level up in gaining technical precision to
Yep.
really deepen his technical knowledge and further his career in a
Mhm.
trajectory he wanted to go. So when I see comments like this and people say, "Oh, it's the wrong time," the biggest proponent you're going to always have in making the transition will always be the person in the mirror.
Yep. I
Because
100%
every
agree.
excuse you can find to not take action will be a continuous step back from the aspiration and goals you have to become a
Yep.
tech professional, and in this instance, a cloud professional.
Yep. And to add on to that, and honestly, I think now is a really good time to get into tech. I think there are so many positions. Go look on LinkedIn, look on these job boards. I'm gonna tell you right now, I I get messages from recruiters every single day, and it's not just because I'm an engineer.
Yeah.
Like I know help desk people who get the same thing. We hire help desk like every other week at my job. Like it's just about getting your foot in the door, and I'm going to tell you what's most important right now. Being able to show what you know if you're new to tech will get you in right away. If
Mm,
you have no tech experience, just
mm,
start labbing right now and document your journey. It doesn't matter if you do YouTube, GitHub, Instagram, something that will show that, hey, look, I might not have the corporate experience that you're looking for, but I've built a whole corporate enterprise right in my room, and you can do that with just a computer.
Hey, Ryan, real quick. Prior to this conversation we had, and you asked me, do I have any preliminary questions prior to doing this one on one? What was my response?
You're like, no, you like to just let it flow.
Right. Here's why. Because as I always said in these tech at nights, the truth will be the truth as the truth is the truth.
Yep,
What he's just said is everything I've always said. When you don't have the experience, you go out and create the experience
yep,
by way of labs, by way of projects, by way of
yep,
volunteer. There's all types of opportunities out there.
yep.
And most importantly, you said one more thing that I really wanted to capitalize on. When you get to at the actual interview, you said something really poignant. You said you do as much research as you can possibly on that
Yes,
company. You
yeah,
even try to talk to some people that work for that. You try to get as much insightful advantage as
yep,
you can prior to the actual interview, so that when you go in there, you're able to blow their socks off. You're not surprised by
yep,
much.
yep.
These are all opportunities available to you. Me and Ryan come from an age where we had to fill out a physical application
Yeah.
or on a website, fill out that long form with that
Yep.
50 questionnaire survey at the end,
Uh-huh.
to get in these tech jobs. So when he's telling you these opportunities are abundant and around you, they are. It's all about positioning yourself. You have to put yourself constantly in the best position to have access to these opportunities. Like you said, you get calls every day. I get calls every day. Like we know
Yep.
how to. The hardest part I always say, and I would love to hear your thoughts. The hardest part I always say, in getting your first tech role is actually getting your first tech role,
Yeah.
being in tech. Like
Mhm.
being in tech after that is, it's pretty much you learn the industry, you learn what to do, what not to do, how to move.
Yep.
Like even the daily work, and we'll get into that later. But the hardest you're going to ever work is breaking into that first role,
Yep.
because you just don't
Absolutely.
know how to make your resume get through to the right hands, and then you don't know how to interview
Yep.
to answer to prep for the different stages like it. But once you get that right, you get that first yes, that first offer letter,
You're good. It's
game
off to the
changer.
races. And like with resume prep and everything like that, when I applied at United, I'm a mod for a Facebook group, right? I put that on my resume and I
That you make
spruced
it.
it up. But I said I was responsible for how people access the page. Like I put a whole bunch of different technical aspects to this role that really didn't have a whole lot of tech involved. And I'm going to tell you I'm going to tell you something that I learned working at Best Buy, right?
Yeah,
This
talk
is
to
a
them.
sales thing. This is a sales thing. But I've taken this with me everywhere since I left for all my interviews.